The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound in the sterile delivery room, a stark, clinical counterpoint to the storm raging within me. I had just given birth to 6 beautiful, healthy babies, a feat of nature that had left me physically and emotionally drained, my body a battlefield of pain and exhaustion. But my heart was a black hole of despair, a gaping void where joy should have been, because the man who was supposed to be by my side, the man who had promised to love and cherish me, the father of these 6 innocent lives, was not there. He was somewhere else, in the arms of another woman, sleeping peacefully while I writhed in agony, while our children took their first breaths. My pain, it seemed, couldn't disturb his dreams, couldn't penetrate the selfish cocoon he had woven around himself. The nurses, their faces a mixture of pity and professional detachment, moved around me, their hushed whispers a distant murmur. Each tiny cry from the bassinets, each fragile sigh, was a reminder of the life we had created, a life he had so carelessly abandoned. The scent of antiseptic and new life mingled with the bitter tang of betrayal, a scent that would forever be etched in my memory. And in that profound, aching void, I knew, with a certainty that pierced my soul, that my journey had just begun, a journey I would embark on alone, with 6 innocent lives depending solely on my shattered strength, their cries, a silent accusation against the man who slept peacefully, oblivious to the world he had just shattered. Subscribe to our channel for more heart-wrenching stories that will make you believe in the power of justice. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. NNN, our love story, as I had always believed it to be, was a grand illusion, meticulously crafted and passionately performed. He was a celebrated musician, a virtuoso on the piano, his melodies weaving tales of love and longing that captivated audiences worldwide. I was a quiet art restorer, drawn to the beauty of forgotten masterpieces, finding solace in the delicate process of healing what was broken. We met at one of his concerts, his music, a siren song that drew me into his orbit. He was charismatic, with a magnetic stage presence that translated effortlessly into his personal life. He swept me off my feet, showering me with attention, composing songs just for me, his promises of a life filled with harmony and shared passion echoing in my heart. We married in a whirlwind romance, our vows exchanged under a sky filled with stars, each one a silent witness to the promises we made. He spoke of building a symphony of a family, a chorus of children whose laughter would fill our grand home. I believed him. Every note, every word. He was my muse, my melody, the man who promised to stand by me through every crescendo and diminuendo of life. And when we discovered I was pregnant, not with 1 but with 6, his initial shock quickly turned to a strange, almost detached amusement. He spoke of the bought inspiration they would provide, of the material for his next album. I dismissed it as his artistic temperament, his unique way of processing overwhelming news. I thought his free spirit would embrace the chaos of a large family, that his love for life would extend to the lives we were creating. I was wrong. It was a distraction, and I was merely a part of his ever-changing landscape. But even then, in the midst of our shared euphoria, a subtle shift began, a barely perceptible unraveling of the thread that bound us. His initial elation slowly began to curdle into a quiet anxiety, a simmering resentment that I initially dismissed as the natural fear of impending fatherhood. He became increasingly preoccupied with his music, with his tours, with his fans. His artistic mind, accustomed to freedom and spontaneity, seemed overwhelmed by the beautiful chaos that was about to descend upon us. He spent more and more time in his studio, surrounded by instruments and sheet music, the light burning late into the night. Our once intimate dinners became strained, punctuated by his distracted silences and my desperate attempts to rekindle the spark that seemed to be dimming. He started taking more business trips, his excuses becoming increasingly vague, his phone calls less frequent. When he was home, his touch, once so comforting and passionate, became perfunctory, almost clinical. I tried to talk to him, to bridge the growing chasm between us, to remind him of the dreams we had shared, of the love that had brought us to this miraculous point. but he would simply nod, offer a non-committal grunt, and retreat further into himself, his eyes distant, his thoughts miles away. The nursery, once a vibrant space filled with our shared hopes, began to feel cold and empty, despite the 6 meticulously arranged cribs. The whispers of doubt, once easily dismissed, grew louder, a discordant note in the symphony of my burgeoning motherhood. I told myself it was stress, the immense pressure of providing for such a large family. I clung to the image of the man who had held me, tears in his eyes, promising our football team. But the man who stood before me now was a stranger, his heart a fortress I could no longer penetrate. The grand illusion was fracturing, and I alone was left to pick up the pieces, carrying not just 6 lives, but the crushing weight of a love that was slowly, irrevocably dying. And NTHE weeks leading up to the birth were a discordant melody, a cacophony of unspoken truths and mounting anxieties. He was rarely home, his excuses becoming increasingly flimsy, his phone calls less frequent. I tried to believe his stories of late-night studio sessions, of unexpected recording opportunities, but a cold dread had begun to settle in my stomach. My intuition, a quiet whisper at first, grew into a deafening roar, a warning I could no longer ignore. I found a stray concert ticket in his jacket pocket, a date and venue that didn't match his tour schedule. A small, elegant scarf, not mine, tucked beneath the seat of his car. The subtle scent of a different perfume clinging to his clothes, a scent that was not mine, not ours. Each discovery was a tiny shard of glass, piercing my heart, confirming the truth I had desperately tried to deny. The grand illusion was crumbling, revealing the ugly reality beneath. And I confronted him, my voice trembling, the evidence clutched in my shaking hand. He didn't deny it. There was no desperate plea for forgiveness, no attempt at explanation, no flicker of remorse in his eyes. He simply stood there, his face a mask of cold indifference, his eyes devoid of any emotion. "It's not what you think," he had said, his voice flat, devoid of any warmth. But I knew it was exactly what I thought. The woman's name on the concert ticket was a name that now represented the ultimate betrayal, a symbol of the life he had chosen over ours. His silence, his lack of any genuine emotion, was a crushing blow, far more devastating than any angry outburst. It was the unveiling of a monster, a man so devoid of empathy that he could betray his pregnant wife on the eve of their children's birth. The pain of labor intensified, each contraction a cruel reminder of the life we had created, a life he now seemed so eager to discard. The grand design of our love story had not just fractured, it had imploded, leaving behind a wasteland of broken promises and shattered dreams. And in that moment, as the contractions grew stronger, I knew that the man I had married was gone, replaced by a stranger, a man capable of a cruelty that would forever haunt my soul. The crushing blow was not just the infidelity, but the cold, calculated indifference with which he delivered it, a final, devastating act of emotional violence that left me utterly, irrevocably alone. Section 3. The symphony of life and the silence of betrayal in NTHE delivery room became a crucible, a place where life and betrayal collided with brutal force. The labor was long and arduous, a marathon of pain that pushed my body to its absolute limits. Each contraction was a wave of fire, each push a desperate plea for release. But through the haze of agony, I held on to the thought of my babies, my 6 tiny miracles, their imminent arrival the only beacon of hope in the darkness that had consumed my world. The medical team, a blur of masked faces and hushed voices, worked with practiced efficiency, their focus unwavering, and then they began to arrive. One by one, each a perfect miniature being, their first cries a fragile symphony of life that filled the sterile room. The sound was overwhelming, a chorus of new beginnings that should have been met with joyous celebration. I counted them, my heart swelling with an indescribable love, a fierce, protective instinct that eclipsed the pain of childbirth and the crushing weight of his betrayal. 6 babies, 3 boys and 3 girls, each one a unique masterpiece, a tiny reflection of the hope I still clung to. I held the first one, then the second, then the third, each moment a precious gift, a testament to the power of creation. NNBUT. My joy was short-lived, tainted by the chilling reality of his profound absence. He was not there. The man who had promised forever, the father of these 6 precious lives, had chosen to be elsewhere. The nurses, accustomed to the joyous chaos of multiple births, exchanged uneasy glances, their pity a palpable thing that stung more than any accusation. They gently placed the babies in their bassinets, one by one, a line of innocent faces, waiting for a father's touch that would never come. I tried to speak, to plead, to demand an explanation, but my voice was lost in the exhaustion and the overwhelming grief. He remained absent, his chosen silence a wall of ice that no warmth could penetrate. The silence of his betrayal was deafening, a stark contrast to the vibrant symphony of life that surrounded me. And in that profound, aching void, I knew, with a certainty that pierced my soul, that my journey had just begun, a journey I would embark on alone, with 6 innocent lives depending solely on my shattered strength. The air was thick with unspoken words, with shattered expectations, and with the chilling realization that the man I loved was a stranger, capable of a cruelty I had never imagined. My tears, hot and silent, traced paths down my temples, mingling with the sweat of my recent ordeal. Each breath was a struggle, not from physical pain, but from the unbearable weight of his calculated absence. He was present, yet utterly, devastatingly gone. And in that profound, aching void, I knew, with a certainty that pierced my soul, that my journey had just begun, a journey I would embark on alone, with 6 innocent lives depending solely on my shattered strength, their cries a silent accusation against the man who slept peacefully, oblivious to the world he had just shattered. And Section 4. The bitter lullaby and the unbreakable bond NTHE night was long and cold. The hospital room, once a place of hope, now felt like a tomb, echoing with the silence of his absence. I held my babies close, their tiny bodies a fragile warmth against my own shivering form. The tears flowed freely now, a silent lament for the dreams that had shattered, for the love that had turned to dust. How could a man, a husband, a father, abandon his family in their most vulnerable moment? His fear, his inadequacy, had manifested as a chilling act of neglect, leaving me to face an impossible future alone. My pain, it seemed, couldn't disturb his dreams, couldn't penetrate the selfish cocoon he had woven around himself. The nurses, their faces a mixture of shock and compassion, brought extra blankets, their kindness a stark contrast to his cruelty. I held my babies close, their tiny bodies a fragile warmth against my own shivering form. The tears flowed freely now, a silent lament for the dreams that had shattered, for the love that had turned to dust. How could a man, a husband, a father, abandon his family in their most vulnerable moment? His fear, his inadequacy, had manifested as a chilling act of neglect, leaving me to face an impossible future alone. My pain, it seemed, couldn't disturb his dreams, couldn't penetrate the selfish cocoon he had woven around himself. NNBUT in that same moment. A fierce, unyielding resolve ignited within me, a fire born from the ashes of my shattered dreams. I would not let him dictate my future or the future of my children. I would not let his abandonment define our lives. I would not let his fear and selfishness cast a shadow over their innocent existence. I looked at my babies again, their tiny hands curling around my fingers, their soft cries, a reminder of the profound responsibility and boundless love that now filled my heart. They were my world, my everything. I couldn't give them up. I wouldn't. I would raise them, on my own, with or without him. I would be their mother and their father, their protector and their provider. I would give them a life filled with love and laughter, a life they deserved, a life free from the cold indifference of a man who saw them as a burden. I told him my decision the next morning, my voice steady and strong, imbued with a newfound strength born of desperation and fierce maternal love. He didn't say a word. He just turned and walked out of the room, out of the hospital, out of our lives. He never looked back. He never saw the tears streaming down my face, the tears of a woman who had lost everything and gained everything in the same breath. He never saw the unwavering determination in my eyes, the unbreakable bond that had just formed between a mother and her 6 miracles. He had chosen his path, and I, with my 6 precious children, had chosen mine. And in that choice, a new, stronger foundation was laid, built not on grand designs or whispered promises, but on the unyielding power of a mother's love. The first few years were a blur of sleepless nights, endless feedings, and a constant, overwhelming sense of responsibility. I moved into a small, 2-bedroom apartment, the 6 cribs crammed into every available space, a testament to the beautiful chaos that had become my life. I lived on welfare and the kindness of strangers, my days a relentless cycle of diaper changes, laundry, and the desperate search for affordable food. My hands were perpetually tired, my body ached, and my mind was a constant hum of worry. There were times when I thought I couldn't go on, times when the sheer weight of the world felt too heavy to bear, times when the loneliness was a physical ache in my chest. The silence of his absence was deafening, a constant reminder of the life I had lost, the dreams that had shattered. But then I would look at my children, their tiny faces, a beacon of hope in the darkness of my despair, their innocent smiles a powerful antidote to my exhaustion. They were my reason for living, my motivation to be a better person, to fight harder, to endure more. Their laughter, their first steps, their whispered, "Mama," were the fuel that kept me going, the tiny victories that made every sacrifice worthwhile. And I learned to stretch every penny, to make a meal out of almost nothing, to mend clothes until they were threadbare. I became an expert at multitasking, rocking one baby with my foot while feeding another, reading a story to 3 while changing a 4th. My home, though small and humble, was filled with the vibrant energy of 6 growing children, a symphony of giggles, cries, and the constant patter of little feet. The community, initially shocked by my situation, rallied around me with an outpouring of support. Neighbors brought meals, donated clothes, and offered a helping hand whenever needed. Strangers, touched by my story, sent anonymous gifts and words of encouragement. Their kindness was a balm to my wounded soul, a testament to the inherent goodness in humanity that contrasted so sharply with the cruelty I had experienced. I found strength in unexpected places, in the quiet moments of connection with my children, in the unwavering support of my newfound community, and in the deep well of resilience I discovered within myself. I went back to school, my children, my constant companions, their tiny hands often turning the pages of my textbooks as I studied late into the night. I pursued a degree in early childhood education, driven by a desire to provide the best possible future for my children and to help other families facing similar challenges. It was a slow, arduous climb, but with each passing semester I felt a little stronger, a little more confident. I graduated with honors, my children cheering me on from the audience, their faces beaming with pride. I got a job, a good job, working with children, and we moved into a bigger house, a house with a backyard where my children could play, a place where they could finally spread their wings. We were a family, a happy family, a family that had been forged in the fires of adversity, tempered by hardship, and strengthened by an unbreakable bond of love. The crucible of motherhood had not broken me, it had refined me, revealing an unseen strength I never knew I possessed. My pain, it seemed, couldn't disturb his dreams, but it had fueled my own, creating a symphony of resilience that would echo through our lives for generations to come. Section 6. The blossoming of resilience and the echoes of a hollow life in years turned into decades, and my 6 children blossomed into remarkable individuals, each a testament to their resilience and the unwavering love that had nurtured them. They were bright, compassionate, and fiercely independent, their spirits unyielding. They pursued diverse paths, some becoming doctors, others artists, teachers, or advocates for social justice, each making their own unique mark on the world. Their laughter filled our home, now a vibrant hub of activity, with grandchildren running through the halls, a testament to the enduring power of family. They knew their story, of a father who had abandoned them, of a mother who had fought tirelessly to give them a life filled with love and opportunity. My pain, once his amusement, had become the fertile ground from which my children had blossomed, their lives a vibrant testament to the true legacy of a mother's unwavering love. And in that moment, as I looked at my beautiful, thriving family, I knew that the true legacy was not in the fleeting pleasures he had pursued, but in the unbreakable spirit that had emerged from the crucible of pain. It was in the laughter of my grandchildren, the unwavering support of my children, the quiet strength that had carried me through the darkest of times. It was a legacy of love, resilience, and the profound truth that even in the face of the deepest betrayal, the human spirit can not only survive, but flourish, creating a tapestry of life more beautiful and meaningful than any grand design. My miracle, once met with rejection, had become my salvation and the enduring testament to the power of a mother's unwavering love.